Moving on though, we've got another new bike. This time it's electric and it's from Livewire and it's called the S2 Alpinista. So it's based upon, of course, their S2 platform, which already has bikes like the Del Mar and Mulholland. Now the Del Mar is a bit of a flat track style bike with slightly oversized wheels front and rear. The Mulholland is more cruiser inspired, and so it gets a big front wheel and a little one at the rear. But this Alpinista, well, it's meant to be like a standard sporty naked bike, and so naturally it's got 17 inches front and rear, and while I'm sure there's more to it than that, there's probably changes to the geometry, for example, to get the desired handling. You know, the wheel sizes do give you a rough indication of the relative personalities of these three models. Now this one could be a really good bike to ride because I'm led to believe that the S2 Del Mar, from speaking to other people in the motorcycle press, is absolutely brilliant and surprisingly quick. This should be more of the same because it shares a lot of the platform, but potentially a little bit more flickable and agile owing to the fact that it does get those smaller cast wheels. As for whether it'll be a commercial success or not though, rather than just a success in terms of handling, well, I'm a little bit less sure when it comes to that. It feels like it's probably going to suffer from the same problems as the original Livewire, which was also marketed more so as a rural Sunday blast kind of bike than the city focus of something like the S2 Del Mar. It's not just in the way that they've marketed these bikes, because one of the reasons they gave the S2 Del Mar those bigger flat track style wheels was to give it better rolling over rough surfaces like broken tarmac and speed bumps and stuff like that you might find in the city. And it's in that sort of context that electric bikes are able to perform to their best. The range is 120 miles in the city, they claim, and that's as a result of the speeds being lower and also the regeneration that you get when you slow down. And look, journeys are generally shorter in the city anyway, and so for a lot of people that could be a whole week of commuting and then you can just charge it up at the weekend. The problem comes when you start to market it as a bike that's for riding out of the city, where the range drops to 70 miles, and that's quoted at a constant speed on the highway of 55 miles per hour. And I'm guessing most of you probably don't stick to 55. Realistically, that's nowhere near enough for those fun Sunday rides. And I think they've kind of anticipated that that's going to be one of the possible objections from anyone thinking about buying one, because of this feature they've included on the product page on their website, which shows you what level of charge you get if you were riding out to a given radius from some of the major cities in the UK. Now, on the one hand, it kind of does its job because it shows that you can get out of the city within a charge. But on the other, well, it's like, if you go beyond that 50% line, you're going to have to charge somewhere away from home to make sure you can get back. And also some of the more common routes like London to Brighton, a bit of a favourite with London bikers. Well, it looks like it's right on the edge of that 25% line. And so you might not be entirely confident, especially if you're not sticking to 55, that you can make it without having to stop en route for a charge. So yeah, a bit of a mixed bag, this one. I'm sure it'll be great to ride, great handling and lots of fun, and there's so much torque and acceleration with electric motors. But then there's also the price. Just over 17 grand for either the Del Mar version or the Alpinista, which maybe doesn't look too bad when you consider how much it's come down from the 25 grand or something of the original Livewire, but does look pretty bad for the Alpinista when you compare it to other petrol bikes that are made for a similar purpose, like an MT-09 or a CB1000 Hornet. On top of that, I'm thinking about the Instagram Q&A last week from BMW CEO Marcus Flash. We covered it in last week's video, where he got asked, as one of the questions from the audience, whether they had any plans over the next year or two to build something in the electric market that's not just for urban mobility. He said there's no demand for that kind of bike, I guess because of the range and stuff. And so they're going to stick to focusing on stuff like the CE04 and CE02, which are effectively just electric scooters built specifically for town. If the CEO of, one of the biggest motorcycle manufacturers in the world is saying it's not on their radar at the moment, then it probably doesn't look great for this. But still, I'm willing to give it a chance if I can get hold of one for review, and I'd love to know what you think of it down in the comments below. Does it look like the most desirable looking electric motorcycle that's been announced so far? And is that price getting low enough to make you even want to consider one? Or is the range situation still too much of a hassle to even think about it? Let me know what you think down below.